You know what it is. That's right. It's time to talk money with your money nerd and financial coach. Now, tighten those purse strings and open those ears. It's the Money Talk with Tiff podcast.
Hey everyone, I am so excited because I have Brieanna Lightfoot Smith on the line. Now, Brianna is here to talk to us about something that's really interesting and something that small business owners or aspiring business owners kind of struggle with at times. And that's making sure that you spend your money on the right investments. So making sure that you're purchasing things that have some lifeline to it and not just throwing money in the wind. So, hey, Brianna, how are you?
Hey, Tiffany, how are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, my pleasure. So let's just hop right in. First and foremost, let's just talk about some of the things that business owners spend on when they first get started that you're like, no.
Yes. I tell people it's ironic because I actually used to, when I first started my company, I was doing website development and I was also doing like social media management. And I think that something that's so ironic is now I tell people, I'm like, hey, you don't need a business website to get started. You just need a way to accept payments from people. And you need to be able to like track the people that are coming in so that you're able to manage those leads, right? So I'm like, okay, you can really get started with something like Acuity. You can get started with just PayPal invoicing. The reason I say that is because after having worked with dozens, if not hundreds of small businesses, what I saw was that a lot of times people would hire me to develop their websites, right? And then their business model would change. They would do maybe an accelerator program where they were able to get more clarity around their ideal customer, or they would do a kind of an intensive, maybe they work with a coach, especially in New Orleans when I was working with small businesses, a lot of them would participate in these incubators. And by the end of the program, whether it be 8 weeks or 12 weeks, their business model had completely shifted, but they already invested this money into a website that talked about this offer that they no longer have. So I really believe that your website is so essential when you get to a point where you know for sure what it is that you offer. But if you're just kind of experimenting with some things, save your money in the beginning, get clear on what your offer is. And in the meantime, in between time, use things like PayPal invoicing, use Stripe, use calendar schedulers to be able to accept payment.
Gotcha. And that makes so much sense. And as someone that loves to dabble in tech and spend way too much money and doing things and redoing things, I can definitely resonate with that. There's so many half-finished projects that I have out there that I was like, oh, I want to go this direction. And then, oh, actually, never mind.
Right. Domain names purchased for days. And you're like, what was this one even for? I don't even remember.
Exactly. So let's go into your framework because I feel like it is very important for these business owners and aspiring business owners to kind of categorize these expenses in a way that will best benefit them. I love your approach of let's get to the money first. So when they're thinking about these expenses, how should they categorize them?
Yeah, so whenever I have a class called Building a Business on a Budget, right? Because we've all been there. And especially if you're somebody who maybe you're married, right? And your spouse is like, you doing what with what? Like, you need to be able to say, no, okay, listen, it's not going to take a lot for us to get started. So I like to categorize things into 3 categories. I like to share with my students that you should look at your business expenses as essential. You should look at opportunities and then your aspirations, right? So your essential things are, what do you need to actually be able to make money from this? Sometimes that's going to be tech, right? But it doesn't have to be expensive tech. We have computers as phones, right? So people who are even saying, oh, I want to start a YouTube channel, baby, let's get consistent with your phone first before you say, I need the latest Nikon or I need the latest Canon. This is really going to be the thing that makes my content top tier, because you want to be able to get consistent first. Then when it comes to your opportunities, as you're starting to gain that traction, that's where you might say, okay, we're going to upgrade to maybe a better camera, not because I'm trying to become like a short film producer, but because I'm even like maxing out the storage on my phone, right? So it becomes an opportunity. And then once you've matched that, and maybe now you're at a place where you're monetizing your content for a YouTube channel, now you're looking into the aspiration section of your finances, where it's like, no, I can actually invest in not only really great equipment, but now maybe I'm going to start investing in a editor to create my take my YouTube videos and also export them for different formats for TikTok or for Instagram, right? So I gave a specific example because I'm the kind of person who I'm like, okay, show me what that looks like. And so to use the example of a YouTube creator, your essential would be you need some way to film. That could just be your phone, and you're already paying that monthly bill. Your opportunity may be, okay, I'm going to get a camera that is either used or it's just not as expensive. Maybe I'm going to look out on those, like I know a lot of people did for Black Friday and Cyber Monday, right? I'm going to grab one of those cameras, and then your aspirations would be, now I'm going to get the best equipment that I can get, and I'm also going to invest in a team.
Yes, yes, I love that. And now that you put it like that, I'm thinking back towards like the Money Talk with Tiff podcast. And when I got started, it was a $20 mic from Amazon. And then I just worked my way up to like this $1,000 setup that I have. But it took time. It took at least 2 to 3 years or so to get to that point. And I have an editor now when I was editing my own episodes. So I can totally relate to how that kind of comes about as you grow and as you learn more about your business. Had I waited until I was able to get $1,000 set up and, all of this and all of that, and then started the podcast, it probably wouldn't have made sense, just in case I didn't like it. What if you get all of that equipment and you don't like doing the podcast, or you don't like doing whatever it is that you put all this money into?
Yes.
And so I completely agree with you there.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a perfect example too.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit, because I know we have a variety of different business owners out there. So I also want to give a product example too. So how would this look in a product-based business if they wanted to do this framework as well?
That's a great question. So when it comes to product-based business, my husband actually has a product-based business, and he does apparel. And for him, when it came to essentials, that's one area where I would say having a website probably makes sense very early on, but it doesn't have to be an expensive one, right? So you need a way to sell your products. People may say, oh, well, you can just start with pop-up shops. But the things that people I feel like don't understand about pop-up shops is that you're going to need that inventory typically on site. And so you're going to have a higher cost of goods, right, in the beginning, if you're trying to have at least 25 products at your first pop-up shop. So what's really nice for a product-based business is that you can do something like drop shipping, right? There are websites like Printful and Printify that will allow you to upload your designs directly into their platform, and then they'll ship the items out for you. What's really nice about that is that you don't have to manage inventory, right? You don't have to worry about like, ooh, I ordered too much of this. You're able to just kind of have, okay, I got one order in and I'm sending one order out. So the essential for a product-based business would absolutely be a place where you can sell your products. And typically it would make sense to start with a website just to make it ease of use. But what's also really awesome is that we're in an age now where, Instagram makes their posts shoppable, right? And you can upload products directly into Facebook Marketplace or Facebook's, their platform in order for you to be able to purchase things that way. So that would be an example that I would give. The aspiration would be, potentially your own store at some point where you're like, okay, I've done this on my own and I'm going to expand. I even think about a friend of mine. She has I guess you would just call it a sweets business, right? She does cookies and she does cakes. And when she first got started, she had it where she would just send you an invoice for your product. I mean, for your cupcakes or your cookies, you would pay the invoice, and then she had it where you could pick the items up directly from her, or she would ship it to you. And then the nice thing was, as she's grown, that's when she really developed out her website. And then now she's looking at getting a flagship store by 2026. So she's really had some awesome traction, but she was willing to kind of, there's a scripture that says, do not despise small beginnings. And that was really her. She was like, listen, I'm going to send you this invoice for this half a dozen order of cookies, and then we'll keep growing from there.
That is amazing. And congrats to the friend if you're listening. Congrats to you. But I love this framework, essentials, opportunities, and aspirations, because we talk a lot on the podcast about budgeting. And it is very similar in how we break down our budget. You know, when you think about your essentials, you're thinking about, the roof over your head, the food in your belly, all of those things. And then your opportunities, those might be like your cell phone bill. So it's not like, stuff that are essential to live, but it's stuff that, you might want. And then the aspirations might be, when you're looking at, oh, I want to go out with my friends, or, those types of things. And so I definitely see how there is a congruency there between your framework and not only applying it to business, but also to your personal expenses as well. So I really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my pleasure.
So let's talk a little bit, though, about your course that you had mentioned, because I want to give people a little sneak peek of what they may get before we wrap up. Of course, don't give it all away, but just a little sneak peek of what they would get with your course.
Yes. So inside of the Build Your Business on a Budget course, and it's really short, y'all, because listen, and I know Tiff keeps her podcast episode short. It's the same thing with that training. It is not longer than an hour, and it's very hands-on. And so I walk you through those essentials, through the opportunities, and through the aspirations. Inside of it, you also get a budget spreadsheet that has those categories broken out. And then I give some examples because, as I shared with you all, sometimes it's like, I don't know, what's the difference between the essential and the aspiration and the opportunity. And so I have those things broken out by category. I also talk about the power of bartering in that training, because sometimes we're out here like, okay, well, I can just spend this much, and you could actually have to spend nothing. One of the examples that I give inside of the training is that I got photos done, which we all know a good photo shoot can run you quite a bit if you're moving into more of that opportunities and aspirations category, right? And this particular photo shoot was valued at about $500, and I just knew I didn't have that to invest. So I was like, sis, I know that your stuff is quality. I've seen your stuff before, but I'm just in the very beginning stages of my business. But what I did have at that time was a podcast that was reaching the exact demographic that this woman had, because she was primarily targeting Black women who were in business or wanted to start a business. And so I said, here's what we can do, or here's what I can offer. And I did not know if she would say no or yes, but I said, I have this podcast, and what I could possibly do for you, if you'd be interested, is record 3 ads that I can put at the beginning of the episodes, and people can use a specific promo code to sign up. And I don't even know if I made the promo code a heavy discount, because I was like, well, if we discount all your services, this is not really the best thing for you. I want to make sure you're getting a return on what you're giving me. And so anyway, I did a promo for her on 3 podcast episodes. And I also said, hey, if we have any in-person events, you can come and talk about your business there. And she was interested. We signed up a agreement, because you should get everything in writing. We signed an agreement, and she did my photo shoot for, on my end for free. I mean, I was exchanging my time and my platform for this physical product that I was able to get. And I tell people that was years ago, and I still use a lot of those images for my website. I use a lot of the images in my social media content. And so that's one of the things that I talk about within that class as well, because again, sometimes we put ourselves in these binds where we're like, oh my gosh, I really want this thing. And then I'm too embarrassed to tell this person that I can't afford their services, instead of just looking and saying, what do I have that's of value that I could offer this person?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that. I have bartered many of times for services and products, and it works, y'all. And you never know, what someone's going to say or do. And so just ask, put it out there. So I love that you go over that in your course as well. So thank you so much, Brianna, for coming on the show today. Now, if people were interested in learning about the course or learning more about you, or is following you on social media, where could they find you?
Yes, they can go to my website, brandsbybrie.com, and that has all my links to social. It has links to Brands by Brie Academy, which is where that Building a Business on a Budget class lives. And there's also a link for you to join my email list. I send out emails every week to business owners with just like a word of encouragement, because we know it can be hard out here. You're like, why am I doing this thing that's very insane that no one else wants to do? I also send resources because, again, sometimes it's like, hey, there's this thing that you might be about to pay for, and I actually found a place for you where you can get it for free. For places that I have relationships with, I include like affiliate links, or for you can sign up for something like Honeybook and get 50% off, or sign up for something like Flowdesk, which is what I use for my email software. And so I just try to make it like a one-stop shop for women in business, because again, this is I think about the poem that talks about how life is no crystal stair. Entrepreneurship is not a crystal stair, okay? But I think what I have seen, it's not, y'all. So if that's why you're signing up, maybe look at something else. But it really is it's a beautiful thing, though, to be able to do the work that you love. Yeah.
For sure. For sure. Well, I will make sure that I have all of those links in the show notes. So definitely check those out. Thank you so much again for coming on the show. And I'm excited. Hopefully somebody took at least one takeaway from this. And if you didn't, I'm going to give you one. Essentials, opportunities, aspirations. That's all you need to know. Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Oh, and one thing I will also, I'm going to use I will give you all a special price on those classes inside of Brands by Brie Academy. But I want you guys to use the word aspirations, because that's how we'll know that you listen to the end. I know sometimes people do like the podcast name and stuff like that, but it's kind of like looking for clues in one of those Disney movies or Marvel movies or something like that. So yeah, if you use promo code Aspiration on any of those, you'll be able to get a special price on those classes.
Yes, I love that. Come on, Easter eggs. So Aspirations is the code, and I'll make sure that's in the show notes as well in case you're doing something, driving, whatever, and you can't write it down. It'll be there for you. So thank you so much, Brianna, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Thank you for listening, joining, and being a part of the Money Talk with Tiff podcast this week. You can check Tiff out every Thursday for a new Money Talk podcast. But if you just can't wait until next week, you can listen to previous podcast episodes at moneytalkwitht.com or follow Tiff on all social media platforms at Money Talk with T. Until next time, spend wise by spending less than you make. A word to the money wise is always sufficient.